What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're doing a champion spotlight of Scyl of the Drakes. This is the new login reward that just came out today. If you've been playing for every single day since this launched, this is a barbarian defense type legendary, and what's free is free. I'm really excited to talk about this champion today because I think Plarium did a fantastic job at releasing this champion. So let's get right into the skills. We have an A1 attacks one enemy, has a 20% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Also has a 30% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15%. If you book this, you get some damage and increases the buff debuff chance by 10%. Moving on to the A2, we have attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 20% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. This will go all the way up to a 35% chance and a 3-turn cooldown once fully booked. Moving on to the A3, we have Phoenix Right, revives an ally with 50% HP, places a 50% ally protection buff on them for 2 turns, 6-turn cooldown, moving all the way down to a 4-turn cooldown if you decide to use books on this champion. Now moving on to the passive Boundless Life, heals all allies by 10% of their max speed at the start of each turn, also places a 30% increased speed buff on a random ally for 2 turns. Now I think right off the bat, this is a really cool champion. Like I said before, any champion that's free is really cool, but I think they really did a good job with this champion. Based off of reading the kits, and I have done testing prior to this video, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit, but based on the kit itself, this screams how to get Arbiter. I think this is a perfect champion that's going to help you in getting your Arbiter mission. She has a pretty solid kit if you know how to use it correctly, and I think I did a decent job of spending a few hours in testing to find out where she really works the best. One thing I did do is I did not book this champion, and what I did was I put a gear set and I put some masteries on her that really amplifies the skills that she has without needing all of these books in it, especially from the A2. Now let's go over the masteries that I used really quickly. As you can see here, I did choose to go the defense and support route. So one thing I did test, as you could probably assume, I tested how much damage does this champion do. While her A1 definitely puts out a ton of damage, the AoE she has, even though it has a cool animation and hit twice, does not hit very hard, despite me putting her in defensive savage gear. So outside of the added bonus of giving her stats that I'm going to show you that I ended up going with, I would not look to this champion as a wave clearing champion. She pretty much fills the role like a Manaya. However, she has that stun utility that I really take advantage of in this video, as you're going to see from these masteries. So for masteries, I did take the Fearsome Presence because I have her in a stun set. The other thing I did was I tried to amplify her heals as much as possible because the passive is actually pretty huge in progression going forward. If you did want to use her in a progression setting, I'm sure you can come up with an awesome mastery tree of your own. This is just the tree that I would highly recommend for you to use if you do want to use her in progression. Moving on to the stats, I chose to give Scyl of the Drakes 40,000 health, 4.1 thousand defense, 184 speed, 97 crit, 219 crit damage, and 212 accuracy. As mentioned before, she is wearing a stun set, and this really makes her shine because, being honest, even though it does hit twice, 2 opportunities of landing a 20% stun isn't very high. Even if you get it to 35%, now we're getting a 20% chance each hit from her kit, but we're also getting the chance to stun all of the enemies or one enemy from the A1 based on this gear set, obviously with the added Fearsome Presence bonus on the masteries. First place that I want to talk about with Scyl of Drakes is Nightmare Campaign. I think she is going to be absolutely fantastic in the Nightmare Campaign just because of her utility, survivability. As we're going to see here, as mentioned, she doesn't do a ton of damage. I don't have her in crazy damage gear, but regardless, her main point really isn't to do a ton of damage. As you can see already, even though I am getting lucky, the stun gear is huge on this champion. I'm really glad I thought of it and found it. Just another way to pretty much amplify her kit. Now this is definitely going to be a slow nightmare run. However, you're going to be able to get it done pretty easily. Obviously, you're going to run into some problems if you're going to go against champions that are force affinity, which is red, that counters her. but she's going to have great synergy. If you don't have Arbiter yet, she's going to definitely make it easier to get her, as mentioned before, but she also has insane synergy with Arbiter, since she kind of offers what Doom Priest offers, where she heals everyone at the start of each turn, which also brings us to an interesting point of what other gear sets can you wear if you don't have a stun gear set. Sleep probably isn't the best unless you're just trying to cut off a turn, but you can also actually use the curing set that no one really thinks about, now that she is providing an AoE heal to everybody. So in a sense, she's like Doom Priest, but she's not cleansing any debuffs. You can use the masteries that I already showed you in the support tree to further increase that healing. And as mentioned already, you can also use the curing gear set. I'm actually pretty sure it drops from here. Yes, so 10% bonus heal from using this gear set. If you wanted to in a progression base, you can use this to really amplify her heals for your whole team. So as mentioned before, 1 minute and 25 seconds as opposed to what Kymar does. He clears this in 13 seconds, so definitely not the fastest farmer, but if you're early game and you for some reason want to clear 12-6 Nightmare by yourself, you can definitely use Scyl of Drakes if you keep in mind the stats I'm using, synergy with the stun set, so on and so forth. So unfortunately, the Barbarian's crypt did just close, but she is going to be a very crucial part of a Barbarians or faction wars. Barbarians definitely struggles a lot if you don't have a Valkyrie or an Alton. Now, since this is a login reward, everyone's going to have her. I highly recommend using her with similar gear to what I'm using here, some type of CC set with fearsome presence, and I think you are just going to dominate this Barbarian crypt and get much further than you thought was possible now that you have this awesome new legendary in your kit. The next place we're going to look at would be dungeons. Quickly going over the viability. As I mentioned before, I don't think this champion is going to be best served as someone who's already clearing stage 20 dungeons. So unfortunately, if you are in the end game or extremely end game outside of faction wars, I don't think you're going to have a use for this champion unless you're just collecting champions like I am and you just want all of the legendaries. But in a progression setting, I think she is definitely going to shine. Unfortunately, I have no way of replicating any type of progression setting in this video, but quickly taking a look at Spider, I think she could be very crucial if you have access to some type of HP burn champion and a cold heart. Obviously not everyone has cold hearts, not everyone has HP burn, but if you do have these champions, you can definitely use Scyl to your advantage here and use her stun in making sure you have great success with stunning the spiderlings. Pretty much she's a budget miscreated monster for the spider only. However, I don't want you to watch this saying she's going to be the answer to my spider team. It's definitely not going to be the case here. If you're already struggling with spider and you're missing vital champions, like an enemy max health champion or like an HP burn, she is not going to make the difference. However, if you do need a CC champion, you're using someone who isn't consistent, you can absolutely use her. As you can see there, applying that decreased speed buff, so it's allowing our team to get even more turns. Unfortunately, she probably did a little bit too much damage there and added that stun, killing too many spiderlings. And we'll see if the spider heals up here and how consistent this ends up actually being. Okay, so the spiderling did heal. However, Scyl has a revive, so this is good. So we can obviously just use the revive to get Cold Heart back to life. Maybe she dies to the spiderlings first. Who knows? It's very likely this team is going to succeed, as mentioned before, because I do have Cold Heart. I'm not really sure why I used Kymar for this. I think Kymar was a bit excessive. I think all you really need is a HP burn with Tyrant, and Scyl, simply this is just a showcase showing what she can do. So as we can see here, this isn't the fastest run possible. We're closing in on 2 minutes now, and most speed runs are significantly quicker than 2 minutes. So overall, Scyl of the Drakes didn't have a ton of value in this team specifically. I simply wanted to show you the interaction she can have in the Spider's Den Stage 20. She offers a ton of healing. She offers the opportunity to revive a champion, so she can definitely be vital to you for progression, especially early on, like I said. If you want to use her in a composition where you're simply AoEing down the spiderling, she has that added bonus if you just give her 100% crit in a stun set, so you're not only getting the damage, but you're also getting CC out of her. The same concept you see here can also be applied to Dragon, Ice Golem, even Fire Knight. She's probably going to have a diminished value in Fire Knight since she isn't a multi-hit champion. She does have a double hit on her AoE, but honestly 2 hits on a cooldown that's 4 turns if you don't book her isn't going to be huge for the Fire Knight. However, even at stage 20, she is a good affinity being magic for Dragon's Lair as well as Ice Golem, so you can definitely use her to your advantage as a healer, CC'er, and even a small damage dealer to improve the success that your team can have. Arena is definitely another place you can consider using her. I don't think she's going to be very viable in the arena unless someone can come up with a really interesting composition that kind of builds around her synergy wise. If you do want to be competitive with it, getting into the upper echelon of the gold 4 arena, even moving into platinum, I think she has potential having a 2 hit on the stun. However, I don't think she does enough damage to actually put anyone in harm's way. And as far as clan boss, anyone that adds a speed buff to a random member of your team is definitely not ideal in any traditional speed tuned clan boss team. Now, if you have a pretty random team, you're not really caring about what speeds they are, you can absolutely throw her in. She does have a revive. I'm not sure how much value she's going to add to you. She does have the AoE heals, which can be helpful, but it will not replace lifesteal gear because it doesn't do enough damage. So pretty much to recap my thoughts on her, I think she is an awesome login reward champion for probably 80 to 90% of the player base. I think she's going to be huge in pretty much every aspect of progression. If you have very few legendaries, if you're a free-to-play player, if you're early game, mid game, I think she is a great champion to have. And as well as stun gear and any other CC gear, you can also use curing gear like I mentioned before. Also, if you're not going to book her, even if you are, I think Relentless gear will have some very interesting synergy on a champion like this that can offer that AoE stun, even though not 100%. It could definitely be vital to you, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people who have lots of Relentless laying around now after the changes they made to it, where they took out off a lot of champions they were using on extra turns already. So you can definitely find a use for Scyl of the Drakes in Relentless gear, reducing those cooldowns. Reflex gear is another opportunity you have in making this champion as strong as you possibly can. What I want to know is, what are you guys going to do with your Scyl of the Drakes login reward? How is she going to help you? Are you going to send her straight to the vault? Are you looking forward to test her out in some other ways that I haven't mentioned here in the video? Let me know what you guys think. As always, thanks a ton for watching. Don't forget, if you like this, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next upload, and I will see you all in the next video.